And a good morning to you. Welcome inside the Bottom Line. Glad to have you here this morning. 47 degrees, sunshiny skies.
Oh, wonderful.
It is nice. Miss Kay sent me a message this morning and said that next week, and I haven't looked ahead, I guess I need to do that, they're calling for some lows in the 30s next week. And I'll take that. I'll take this weather year-round, sprinkling a little snow, and I'll be a happy camper.
Right. I guess
Because I like the cool mornings and low 80 weather.
Sure, absolutely.
And, under 150% humidity. That's nice, too.
Yeah.
We don't have that rolled in yet. Today we're looking at 82, 83 tomorrow, 81 on Friday, 72 and a 80% chance of thunderstorms. Back to sunny on Sunday with a high of 68. Then we're only going to be in the 60s next week for highs, but it looks like really nice weather. And maybe they've called off the cold weather. The coldest I see is Monday night, 41 degrees, but I'll take that.
Yeah, no, she's right though. They were calling for.
They backed off a little bit.
Yeah, and it's the springtime. Things very quickly, right? Very quickly change. Yeah, it when I looked at it last week, because they were calling for highs initially here in the upper 50s on Monday, I believe Monday and Tuesday. Of course, that's been changed now drastically, I see. But, 41 and 43. But it was in the 30s yesterday or day before.
And I can tell you, I would absolutely take, 40s and 70s, a lot of it. And, we we don't have, or there have been many years that we didn't have much fall or spring.
Right.
It would all of a sudden just warm up and you'd be at 90 and it was on. And then in the fall, you would do the same thing. All of a sudden it would just drop down and it would get cold and stay cold, which, as I said, I could take the cold a whole lot better.
Yeah, I think you and I talked about this. We were talking about the calendar and how, fall starts, in that third week in September. And when in actuality, I was watching this thing on climatology where they were talking about.
That's a big word.
Okay, I was watching stuff on the weather.
Okay, thank you.
And they were talking about how actually the fall starts, realistically, around around September 1st instead of at the that third week in September, and how winter really starts December 1st.
Instead around the 20th.
Instead of that time in spring and summer and that kind of thing. But that does make sense because it doesn't feel like spring like the second week in June. You know what I'm saying? It's not officially summer on the calendar.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, on our Gregorian calendar.
And I think a summer from Memorial Day to Labor Day.
You're right. That's what I think most.
And that's
of
why
us
I've always
do.
said. That's why I've always said that's what school needs to be.
Yeah.
Labor Day to Memorial Day.
Yeah, it was. I think, Laney, when I was pretty young, late 70s, early 80s, we were living down Lake Waccamaw area down near Whiteville, Wilmington and all that. And Dad was teaching, and I remember that, of course, football started August 1st, and he was coaching football, and I was probably 7, 8 years old. But I remember that there were several of the kids that did not, and school didn't start till after Labor Day. There's a lot of kids that worked on the farms, and in particular tobacco farms down there. So we had several football players, kids that would come out after the first game. I think there's like 5 that worked. It's kind of like kids in the ski slopes in the mountains.
Even now, it is hard for some kids, and you're talking about going to school later like that, we would always have problems getting kids to practice.
Yes,
because
they
didn't have transportation.
Right.
Yeah.
What was interesting was I was working in Avery County back in, it's probably over 20 years ago, but it came around about 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. And, of course, football season was winding down, had ended, basketball starting. And I'm the AD up there, and I'm looking at daily enrollment, and all of a sudden, our enrollment was cut by a third, for 3 straight days in a row. I'm like, I went to the principal. I said, do we have
Christmas trees?
I said, do we have a virus? Are the kids okay? She's like, oh, sweetheart, it's fine.
Yeah.
Pat Edwards, she was a great principal. She said, sweetheart, it's fine. I said, Miss Edwards, this is the third of our student body. Went from 660, down to, 400 kids in 3 days. She's like, honey, it'll be that way through about the second week in December. Then everybody will be back. It'll be fine. That's what they all, that's what they did.
Well, it's because you had agricultural type jobs that kids still participate
and
in.
that's what they did. And we had kids that played sports. So, there there's really, it's up to the local LEA how you determine eligibility for a day of school, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're a lot like at Maiden High, for example, you have to be there half a day
Mm-hmm.
in order to participate in either practice or a game.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not a state rule.
Mm-hmm.
So the kids just come in, basically after school, practice,
Mm-hmm.
go back to work, till, you know what I'm saying? But it's just neat how, different places thrive in their own setting, and they really don't adhere to just rules that are just arbitrary or just
it's
one size fits all.
It's
right?
Realistic and it's applied based on the circumstances.
Sure. And that's smart.
It's
right?
the way it should be.
Right.
That's right.
That's
It's the way it should be.
And if we had that in a little bit more in sports, maybe
we'd have some.
Okay. Yeah.
Milton saying good morning. Richie, good morning. Milton said it was 36 at his house yesterday. Milton lives down in Lincoln on Highway 27 West.
Out in the country a little bit.
No, where 182 breaks off. Right there,
that's
just
where he lives?
just right outside there.
Yeah.
He lives right there.
Hazen Valley, Low
and I know that because he got some T-shirts and I took them to him one day.
That's cool.
Jonathan Walker, good morning. I guess you're still up in VA. I think you're up in Virginia, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, fantastic.
Richie said, did you see where they found a carved-out canoe that was over 800 years old in Lake Waccamaw?
So history on that would be very quick and very brief, but for Richie. I didn't see that particular instance. But the Waccamaw tribe, so when I was in school down there, I was a minority, okay? There were, many races down there, but they're Lumbees.
You get east of Lumberton.
Right.
You could be the
Lumbee,
minority.
Waccamaw, and several tribes, Indian tribes, right, from many years ago, African-American kids. So, we were all just.
Pembroke.
Yeah, keep going, right? You know what I'm saying? Further, you know what I mean? But what my point of all that is, what was interesting is the uniqueness of the culture down there. And so, even though it was based on the Waccamaw, setting, all right, and how the lake got formed, it is a man-made lake. It's 5 miles wide, 7 miles long. They used to have this thing where you could swim across each year as an annual thing. There was a boat that was beside you if you needed to stop and rest, and you just swam across. It's only about 10, 12 feet at the deepest point, right? Lots of different wildlife, obviously gators in there, different kinds of fish, snakes everywhere. It's just wildlife at its best. But there were so many things that were unearthed, Lanny, and even as a kid when we would play near the lake or around the area there in the swamps, right, we would find things. We would find relics and just, small things. It was not unusual to find, they call them arrowheads, but it was more of a spear-shaped.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, but you know what I mean, just for whether it was to be for whatever, tools, whatever. But I learned a lot cultural-wise at a very young age living down there. And, I still am in touch with many of my friends, through Facebook. I hadn't talked to them in 30 years and was able to find a lot of them on Facebook and rekindle some friendships. And it's just neat. But the culture down there is just amazing.
Now, I will
and it's on the way to Holden, right? When we went down. Yeah.
I'll flex my my education here just a little bit. People say, well, how could a carved-out canoe made of wood, how could it be 800 years old and be in water?
Yeah.
Well, it waterlogs and petrifies.
Petrifies, that's right.
And, you see, I don't know if you've ever watched this on, I watch a lot of old man TV, the Discovery Channel or one of those where they do this logging of these cypress logs that are underwater that they bring out that are ancient practically. A lot of money. Yeah, that's a lot of money.
That's a good business.
Yeah, but
Very
that's
lucrative
they're
business.
pulling them out of water, and it's wood that has been there for years and years and years. Milton said the River Valley, because he really is considered in what's called the South Fork.
Right. Yeah.
Right there, so it does get a little
and
bit
it gets
cold
at Lincolnton. Like I noticed, like when we played him later towards the end of the year on the schedule.
That's because it's on Clark's Creek.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like it would get really cold about halftime. And you'd be like, "What in the heck is going on?"
We played when I was at Highland. We went to. I'm trying to think. I guess it's in Rock Hill, but we went to. It was a little private school, Catawba something, but they had a football field that was on like a creek bank, and I'm telling you what, it was fairly dry when we started, but when the sun went down, it was late fall. Boys, it rained from the ground up. And it was black dirt, and it got slick and wet. And that's, when you're in that kind of environment, that's what happens.
Lenny, it does that down on Old Sigmund Field here in Macon.
Yes, well, anytime it's like that. It's like that.
And Danny Harbinson had written something talking about Fats. When he was a kid, he would watch the monsters of the. I can't remember what he called them, but they would come out of the fog. It was like they were coming out of the fog down there at the creek, because they used to play football down there too before they built the stadium at the old high school.
Mm-hmm.
But they used to play football, baseball, softball, that down there before they tore everything down.
But yeah, that's kind of the way that works. Milton said he could hear the crowd at Battleground Stadium in his backyard.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Well, where the old radio station building was, where the transmitter still is on Startown Road, we would have people that would come sit in the parking lot and watch the fireworks, because the July 4th fireworks
You can see it
was just across the trees there, and you can see it pretty good.
That's cool.
Richie said it was cool at his in-laws and Mom's house this past weekend. Felt great. In-laws live up in Chancellor.
Oh, yeah.
And then his mom lives off 182 up going into West Lincoln. Yeah. Since it's time to take a break, I'll throw this in here just to watch you hang your head when you're talking about arrowheads.
Yeah.
Don't know if you've ever heard this, but Larry the Cable Guy, his grandpa, he had to have a colonoscopy, and his grandpa was so old they found an arrowhead up in there, and they called in an archaeologist to see, kind of see what that what the story was on that, and I thought that was pretty good. Back in a moment.
Whether it's a sit-down meal or a call-in for the drive-thru, Brookwood Cafe and Catering is the answer. A variety of meats, vegetables, and desserts cooked daily, or a hot sandwich from the grill, they have what you're looking for to satisfy your taste buds. If you need catering from 5 to 500, Brookwood has you covered as well. Stop by Brookwood Cafe and Catering at 202 Providence Mill Road in Maiden. Don't forget breakfast daily till 11 a.m. Open Tuesday 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., Wednesday through Saturday 6 a.m. till 8 p.m., and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Call 828-428-8944 to place your order today.
If you ask around, you'll find Burke Mortuary has a reputation for excellence and commitment to value. They've built a reputation of trust for more than 35 years. Burke Mortuary is proud to offer personal attention, meaningful tributes, and the area's most affordable prices. They're also proud to offer you beautiful, state-of-the-art facilities. It's the perfect place to honor your loved one. So when choosing a funeral home, the choice is easy. Choose Burke Mortuary with locations in Maiden and Newton.
Covenant Church began as a vision of just over 100 people in 1984. Since then, Covenant Church has grown and currently located at 2168 Gastonia Highway in Lincoln. The Sunday schedule includes early morning worship at 8:30, Sunday school at 9:45, and morning worship at 10:45. Their ministries extend beyond Sunday. Visit their website at www.covenantchurch.church to see all they have to offer, and better yet, stop by and see for yourself. Covenant Church may be just what you're looking for a new church home. First Federal Savings Bank has been serving Lincoln County since 1940. And as it has been from the beginning, customer service is a priority to First Federal Savings Bank. They want to get to know you by name. First Federal Savings Bank has the convenience, the products, and the services that the larger banks have, but with hometown people that you see throughout your community. Stop in and visit one of their 4 convenient locations and see what First Federal Savings Bank has to offer you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Untangling your headphones, finding the right remote, saying goodbye to your favorite shirt that hasn't fit in 10 years. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with Auto Owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who live in your community and answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like finding a new favorite shirt. That's simple human sense.
Call Mooney Insurance in Maiden or East Lincoln Insurance in Denver, or visit mooneyinsurance.com. Stiefel Nicholas now has an office in your community. Stiefel Nicholas is a full-service organization offering a wide range of investment vehicles and services. These include money market funds, CDs, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, annuities, retirement plans, and managed accounts, to name a few. Our financial advisors will sit down with you and help you tailor an investment plan, explaining strategies and investments which may help you achieve your personal goals. Call 4Rembert today at 828-624-7300. Stiefel Nicholas, member SIPC and the New York Stock Exchange. And welcome back. Glad to have you here on a Hump Day Wednesday morning. This came out yesterday. We were talking about it just a little bit. I got this off High School OT. The North Carolina High School Athletic Association, they did their vote, and I'm stunned that the vote passed as big as it did, but it did. And they're going to be changing classifications. And we were talking about yesterday, what's that going to look like? Well, I'm going to tell you what that's going to look like. According to the proposed bylaw change, the number of classifications would be based on the total number of member schools. No classification would be allowed to have more than 64 schools in it. Okay? So there's not going to be 7. There's going to be 8 based on the number of schools. Based on the current number of schools in the association, it will require the association to move to 7 classifications. It's got that, but there's 8 listed on my sheet.
And it's because of the 64.
They don't want more than 64 in any classification.
Okay. And what that does is it gives you room and flexibility with the number of classifications. Mm-hmm. Again, as we are in a growing and evolving and expanding state population-wise, and as other schools come in that are maybe not public schools 100%, maybe charter others, it gives that flexibility. Now, what are they doing with the charter schools and other schools?
That wasn't in this. That is something that the state legislature is looking at.
Okay, about bumping them up.
Yeah, because since this passed overwhelmingly because they screw it around so they can't, it don't pass, I think the legislators will have to take that part out of that bill and leave the other part in, which is parochial and charter schools will have to play up a classification.
Yeah, maybe even 2.
Yeah. As close as these are, it might be. Now,
that's true.
The classification will be determined solely on the ADM number of each school.
Not on anything else.
I'm not done.
I'm sorry.
DPI after the first month of school.
Yeah, right.
Currently,
right.
ADM numbers are part of a formula that also takes into overall account success and financial status of the school. Now, I think because the number of schools in each classification is going to be so much smaller, I don't think they will do that. I don't think the need for that will be there.
I don't think there was ever a need for it anyway. My thing is, if East Surrey is doing so well in 1A, maybe the other schools should, look at investing into what they're doing. Well, but they can't. They don't have any money.
Yeah, but look at this.
No.
Surrey County's not loaded with money.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
I am making a point.
Yeah.
And the point is exactly what you
There's
just said.
There's a lot of smaller, successful school systems.
Right. And I'm not preaching. I'm just making a statement, okay? If you want to improve your situation, the first thing that you do is not run and go blame somebody else.
Yeah.
You start improving yourself.
That's exactly right.
When you are an entity, you do the same thing.
That's correct.
It doesn't matter if it's an individual or an entity, okay? When I got to Maiden and they had won very few baseball games in X amount of years, this is 30 years ago, the first thing I want to do is change the mindset. I couldn't change anything else, okay? But I want to change the mindset of the kids. Coach Brown, when he coached football, it was about mindset for the kids. Coach Parker, all these guys, when you coached, you tried to improve the mindset and get the focus that you needed. What we're doing is we're blaming a bunch of existential factors on the reason that success is not
It's easy.
When the only way that you get out of the situation you're in is to take control of the situation.
And improve your situation.
And improve yourself. Then your situation
There's a lot of ways that you can improve your situation, but it takes work and that type of thing. So we'll see where that goes. But the current bylaws, the association was limited to 4 classifications, and all of that split classifications they did for playoffs was against the bylaws. That was not a part of the bylaws. They violated the bylaws all those years that there were split classifications in playoffs.
Yes, that is correct. It was done for money.
Yeah, that's correct.
For gate receipts for playoffs. Yes.
They had 4 classifications since 1960. Okay?
That's right.
And it said the number of schools in the association has grown substantially since that time, from the upper 200s to more than 430. Now, my guess would be in 1960, I don't know if there was upwards of 200 high schools in North Carolina. There's 100 counties, so you would think there would be at least 100. But there were a lot of counties, just like now, that only had one high school. But it said from 1960, according to this article, to more than 430. So it was definitely outdated.
Yeah.
But even though they said 7 classifications, I'm showing 8 classifications. I'm showing 8 classifications.
That's really good, though. The 8th is the larger ones, right? You know, the 449.
Well, what's going to happen is there's going to be 64 in each classification, and then the largest one won't have 64 unless they grow into it and it keeps shifting.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's a good formula.
Now, the other articles I've read, they have not determined how many teams will make the playoffs in the new classifications yet. That's an association decision.
Okay.
Now, I would hope it would not be more than 32 because that would be half of your classification.
But it'll go back, and then what they can do is instead of doing the seeding thing, they can realistically go back now and say, okay, such and such number 1 plays such and such number 3.
Mm-hmm.
That way there's none of this formula, because formulas are skewed because kids are injured, right? Mm-hmm. Think of the state champion a couple of years ago, Salisbury.
Mm-hmm.
They barely made the playoffs because they had kids hurt in the shortened spring season and lost the first 2 games of the season.
Right.
Which were conference
Even
games.
though they were the best team in that division.
There was no question that they were the best team in the history of the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm being funny, but they were really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they almost didn't make it because of the health. So things were skewed. Now, it worked out wild card wise where they got in and were able to, go. But my point to that is, number 1 plays number whatever, number 2 plays number whatever, number 3, and then have a random 4th spot, or third, however you do it. We could do that, Lanny, and it would be good football.
I agree.
It would be good basketball. It would be good for soccer. It would be good for tennis. All of these. Well, I say tennis. You can't do it, but the other sports, right? It would be good for that. Tennis has a way that they rank and do things, so that's not appropriate. But way to do that.
Now, the proposed change will be effective in the 25-26 school year.
Give them a couple of years to get things.
So they'll put that together, and I think it's good. I think it's good. And it will change where schools fall in the classifications, Richie. Yep. It'll be interesting to see where this goes. It's been much needed. When I was coaching around the year 2000, this was before we went to the split playoffs, the 1A, 2A, the single A, double A.
Right.
When that occurred, there was a proposal from the floor at the coaching clinic that the coaches wanted to move to 5 or 6 classifications. Now, this is almost 25 years ago, and they would not hear to that. No. They will not hear to that. Jonathan said, off topic, but I see the LR softball team looking pretty good. I got Elon coming up on my umpire schedule. I'll be doing some SAC games next season, so I'll have LR on my schedule. Be good to ump some games back in his hometown. Yeah, it will be.
Good, and it's very, very good. Like
it's good softball.
It's enjoyable, and it moves at a fantastic pace.
Yep, and so, but I saw this. Want to bring this up, and one of the other stories that came out is the Panthers GM, and I heard this in another article. They are not saying. Scott Fritter made it clear yesterday that Alabama quarterback Bryce Young has not been told he will be the top pick in the NFL draft. His comment came 24 hours after Young canceled the rest of his pre-draft visits. Carolina has the number 1 pick on the draft, which is going to be next Thursday, I believe. Does that sound right? The 27th? I think that's next Thursday. Fitterer said that's a decision he made on his own. I just refer you to his reps and to Bryce as to why. Speculation intensified that Young will be the top pick over Ohio State's C.J. Stroud. Fitterer also made it clear that Young's size, 5'10", 204, will not be a factor. Okay? Fitterer reminded everyone that he was in Seattle in 2012 when the Seahawks selected 5'11" Russell Wilson in the 3rd round, and that Wilson had only 3 balls batted down at the line of scrimmage his final year at Wisconsin. Here's the difference, though. Here's the difference. Russell Wilson was taken in the 3rd round, not with the first overall pick. There's a big difference there. A big difference there.
Well, and you don't have NFL defensive linemen, even though that the SEC is basically what that is.
Mm-hmm.
You still don't have NFL defensive linemen exactly with an inch or two higher, in height and the arm length, and I think they call it wingspan.
Yeah.
Is how they, up in front.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's an apples to apples comparison. I think it's a good point, but not an apple to apple, apples to apples comparison, right? It's kind of like saying, well, in high school you only had this many balls batted down, so in college you won't have. They're a lot taller.
Yeah.
Lot
Different,
longer.
different thing.
Yeah, right. So.
C.J. Stroud was at the Bank of America Stadium for his pre-draft visit on Tuesday. He was considered the early favorite because he's 6'3" and resembles more of the quarterback type that Frank Reich has worked with over the last 17 years. Reich has never had a starting quarterback under 6'2".
It's going to be interesting because, he's had Luck and, all these other guys. I think didn't he have Scott? I mean, not Scott. Boy that won the MVP Super Bowl for the Eagles. Foles. Nick Foles. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's pretty tall.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think Frank Reich was offensive coordinator. If in that right, wasn't he the offensive coordinator for Philadelphia when they won the Super Bowl?
Yes.
Or he's with them. So I understand what the point is being made. So we'll see. But I think it's all about doing what you do within the personnel that you have, not saying this is what I do and you try to make the people adapt to it.
My understanding from what I heard this morning, and Fritter said that he still hasn't asked Reich whom he would select,
right?
But he believes they'll be on the same page once he does. From the report I heard this morning, they will gather about next Tuesday, all the coaches, and they'll kind of finalize what they want to do. Federer said he didn't want to ask Reich that question and didn't want to close our minds off until we get there to the pick. Federer said the team continues to discuss all four quarterbacks, Young, Stroud, Will Levis, and Anthony Richardson. And they all have been brought in for pre-draft visits. But according to an ESPN source, midway through the process, Young and Stroud were the two quarterbacks being considered for the top pick. And so we'll see what happens there. I don't know. I'm still not convinced that that's what you want. Federer said Wilson, talk about Russell Wilson, was around 206 and bulked up in the 215, 220 range. I don't see the same body type with
it's very different.
Those.
It's very different. Russell Wilson,
much more muscular
baseball player.
Yeah,
right. And what I mean by that is he, his body type was more of a middle infield type body type. You say, but Nomar Garciaparra was really skinny like Bryce Young. That's not what I mean. I'm talking about from the ability to play on the right side of the field, right? In baseball, little thicker, a little more, thicker is the best way to put it. I mean, just stronger body type. Being able to play on that side, and Russell. Well, I got to tell you, I was shocked. And he's been a great football player and so fun to watch. But I was shocked that he did not choose baseball over football, just like I am with Kyler Murray.
But it's money.
I understand that.
And more instant money. There may be long term.
Right. In the short term,
if you're that kind of baseball player.
And Kyler Murray's the same way. I mean, Laney, we're talking about a guy that the intangibles that Kyler Murray has on the baseball field are, I don't want to say generational. That's not a good, but it's kind of like, gosh, not comparing him to King Griffey Jr. because they're two different types of players, but that kind of, you grow up in it, you've been there, your dad's done it, you know how to go about it, and then you choose football, which, obviously it's been good for him, up until lately. But, it's shocking to me. I mean, it's kind of like you look at a guy like Drew Henson that chose baseball over football. Yeah.
If you can make it in baseball, you stand to make more money and a longer career.
Yeah, and it's
normally.
different kind of health.
Normally.
Right. Different kind of body
But
health,
if you don't make it, you don't even come close to sniffing that money, because all you got to get, especially if you're talking about a quarterback in the NFL, all you got to get is that second contract,
Right.
and you're in the hundreds of millions of dollars
that's
you may never see in baseball if you don't.
Mm-hmm. You know, and it was a big deal. That's when he's quarterback in NC State.
Yep.
You know, and he
Wooden Bat League.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, the Coastal Plains League, and that's a great league to play in. And you know, that was the thing when they were talking about. Well, you know, that's when what's that boy's name? Glennon went to the coach and said, you know, if you don't play me, I'm leaving. So he let Russell
Mike
leave.
Glennon.
I mean, anyway, but yeah, that's when Russell, I guess, graduated and went on to Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so.
Mm-hmm. Now, the other story, and nobody's talking about it because nothing's changed, okay, the whole Aaron Rodgers thing. Now, here's what I heard yesterday. The Jets have the 13th pick in the first round, if I'm not mistaken. So they're going to wait and see if they maybe get a better offer for that 13th pick. And they actually, from reports that have been said, the Jets do not want to sign Aaron Rodgers until after the first day of the draft.
Because they can use it as leverage.
Right.
There's a good chance that they could actually get a deal and potentially trade up and then trade that pick to get Rodgers. And
here's the thing. This is the other thing.
Backwards from what you would think,
this is the other thing. What happens if that doesn't work out? Much like Lamar Jackson, there's not a laundry list of teams out there wanting Aaron Rodgers.
Not right now.
Green Bay has made their decision. Could Aaron Rodgers go back, or would he just sit out a year?
Right now, there's not teams there because they feel like the deal is intimate, you know, with the Jets. If Aaron Rodgers, for whatever reason, is available, there will be a lot of teams that.
But
will
is
come
Aaron Rodgers worth two?
Absolutely, and I'm gonna tell you why. No, I'm gonna tell you why. He's worth two number ones because he has a track record, and he has results, and he was the MVP just 2 years ago. Yes, he's older, but this is the problem I have with the way that they're doing it now. Last year, who was drafted in the first round? Trey Lance, and who else? Zach Wilson. Mm-hmm. How's that working out for you? Mm-hmm. I would rather have something that's sustainable and go ahead and get.
But he's got to go to a team that's built and ready to win now, because he's not long term.
Well, no, I agree with that, but I think their plans are, obviously they don't feel like they can win a Super Bowl, but they're trying to get their team moving in that direction. Mm-hmm. The only way you do that is improve it from the top, not the bottom. If you want it instant. Now, there's a lot of people disagree, and that's okay.
I'm going to take a break, and then I'm going to ask you a question about that. and I know you're an Aaron Rodgers fan. I'm an Aaron Rodgers admirer of what he accomplished. I'm not a fan because I don't like his attitude. Yep. That's just me. Back him up.
Whether it's a sit-down meal or a call-in for the drive-thru, Brookwood Cafe and Catering is the answer. A variety of meats, vegetables, and desserts cooked daily, or a hot sandwich from the grill, they have what you're looking for to satisfy your taste buds. If you need catering from 5 to 500, Brookwood has you covered as well. Stop by Brookwood Cafe and Catering at 202 Providence Mill Road in Maiden. Don't forget breakfast daily till 11 a.m. Open Tuesday 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., Wednesday through Saturday 6 a.m. till 8 p.m., and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Call 828-428-8944 to place your order today.
If you ask around, you'll find Burke Mortuary has a reputation for excellence and commitment to value. They've built a reputation of trust for more than 35 years. Burke Mortuary is proud to offer personal attention, meaningful tributes, and the area's most affordable prices. They're also proud to offer you beautiful, state-of-the-art facilities. It's the perfect place to honor your loved one. So when choosing a funeral home, the choice is easy. Choose Burke Mortuary with locations in Maiden and Newton.
Covenant Church began as a vision of just over 100 people in 1984. Since then, Covenant Church has grown and currently located at 2168 Gastonia Highway in Lincoln. The Sunday schedule includes early morning worship at 8:30, Sunday school at 9:45, and morning worship at 10:45. Their ministries extend beyond Sunday. Visit their website at www.covenantchurch.church to see all they have to offer, and better yet, stop by and see for yourself. Covenant Church may be just what you're looking for a new church home. First Federal Savings Bank has been serving Lincoln County since 1940. And as it has been from the beginning, customer service is a priority to First Federal Savings Bank. They want to get to know you by name.
First Federal Savings Bank has the convenience, the products, and the services that the larger banks have, but with hometown people that you see throughout your community. Stop in and visit one of their 4 convenient locations and see what First Federal Savings Bank has to offer you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Untangling your headphones, finding the right remote, saying goodbye to your favorite shirt that hasn't fit in 10 years. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with auto owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who live in your community and answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like finding a new favorite shirt. That's simple human sense.
Call Mooney Insurance in Maiden or East Lincoln Insurance in Denver or visit mooneyinsurance.com.
Stifel Nicholas now has an office in your community. Stifel Nicholas is a full-service organization offering a wide range of investment vehicles and services. These include money market funds, CDs, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, annuities, retirement plans, and managed accounts, to name a few. Our financial advisors will sit down with you and help you tailor an investment plan, explaining strategies and investments which may help you achieve your personal goals. Call 4 Rembert today at 828-624-7300. Stifel Nicholas, member SIPC, and the New York Stock Exchange. And welcome back. That's pretty good. I went to break and did not forget my question, which doesn't happen a whole lot of times. Most of the time I have to write that down or it's gone. I mean, it's just gone. Richie said,
yeah, it's some ice in it. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Richie said if Wilson could have hit the curve and changeup, he might still be playing baseball.
Yeah. Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah.
No, I mean, Richie's right. I mean, these are things that most hitters, to his point, battle. It's not the fastball. It's the other stuff.
Yeah.
But he's such a talent and such a dedicated worker that, you know, it's kind of like watching Tebow when he transitioned from football into baseball. You know, a lot of people, oh, here he goes doing this. So when he comes and plays at the Crawdads, go out there and I'm call the guys over there that, you know, have partnership and friends with or whatever, say, hey, I want to come watch him hit. I'm like, no problem. So I'm sitting back there and I'm about 2 rows back. I'm just sitting there watching. Stands are empty. They had a list of like 7 pages before Tebow came of what the rules.
Right.
Because he's such a famous person, right? So, you know, people can't be there watching, can't do this, you know, that it's basically just open to the public, right? So I'm watching this guy, and he's left-handed hitter, and the hitting coach is working with him. Taking bat practice. He's missing balls terrible, fouling them off to the, you know, to the left over here, and I'm thinking, God, there's no way the next 3 balls were launched into the scoreboard.
Yeah.
His legs, Laney, are that big.
Yeah.
And what was funny was he was close to 30 at the time, late 20s, early 30s. And all the kids on that team were like 17, 19, 20, oldest like 21, 22 at that level. And he's out there taking ground balls in the outfield during BP, and his coach is working with him on his stuff. Well, all the pitchers are out there, and they're shagging balls. Well, they get behind him, and they start acting like him. So when he goes down to field a ball, they go down to field it. Now, Tebow's left-handed. None of them were left-handed. Most of them were right-handed. But they put their glove on the other hand, and then they'd go down and scoop the ball, and then they would jump up and do the crow hop and act like they were throwing, and then they'd jog back like he would, you know, and everything. Well, he caught on to what they were doing and didn't say anything to him. So the next ball he goes and he fields when the coach hits it to him. This is in batting practice, you know, when he's working with him. And he acts like he's getting ready to stand up, crow hop, and throw to second. He turns around and acts like he's going to throw it to him. They scatter. But what was good was he had great interaction with those young kids. And not only was he a great influence to the fans that were there, that so many people stayed afterwards. It was a packed house. But I watched him interact even with the Crawdads players and the other, you know, his own teammates and the youth and everything. And it was a good fit. And I got to tell you, you know, I think he was either invited to spring training a couple years ago or was close to getting there. And, you know, with his work ethic, I don't put anything past him.
Good morning, honey. Glad you're awake now. OMG, I love Tim Tebow. Wow. This leaves me as a pile of crap. That's okay.
Bo, Dabo, Tebow.
Yeah. It's not Lanny Bo.
Lanny Bo.
No.
Yeah.
It's okay. Yeah, good morning to you.
Lanny Bo. That's
Okay,
what it's gonna
let me go
be.
back to my question. You brought up some great points there about Tebow, Russell Wilson, their motors, their work ethic, all that kind of stuff. My big concern with Aaron Rodgers is not that he's not ready to play. He doesn't put the work in to make sure everybody around him is ready to play because he doesn't need off-season work, okay? I get that. He's been playing for a long time, great athlete. But the people that are around him, because that cast changed every year at Green Bay, and especially if he goes to another team, if he doesn't do off-season workouts, it's just that Calhoun brought up a great point. If he goes to the Jets, they will suck this year.
Yes.
And if he hangs around for 2 years, they'll be good next year.
Correct.
Because it'll take him to November like it did at the Packers this year to get in sync with the people around him. I don't want that guy on my team. You don't have that kind of time to waste.
Well, that's a really good point. But the situation in, like you just said, the situation in, with the Jets would be no different than what he's been going through in Green Bay for the last 20 years.
But that's every franchise.
Well, think of it like this.
And he's one that bitches because he don't have enough help. He always wants somebody new.
And he's right. He's right. He's had to develop every player that's come through there instead of the organization.
If you were a quarterback, would you not want to do that? Would you not? Let me ask it this way. When I worked in radio in Charlotte, because we were in Charlotte and I had the small town mentality, and Charlotte was a large market that did things different when it came to sales and promotions.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, to me, when I was trying to hire people, I did not want to hire people that had worked in that market because they only understood that way. Right. I wanted to hire people that had skills and desire and a good work ethic so that I could mold them to fit the way we needed to do it, the way that we felt like we could be successful.
Right.
Because we didn't have the numbers. We didn't have some of the things these other people use to be successful. And I didn't want that. So the point I'm making is if Aaron Rodgers was out there working with these guys, because you can see that over a period of time there builds a chemistry and there's an understanding of what he expects and how he wants it done.
Yeah.
But he's not willing to put in that time up front. You're going to do it on my schedule, and you don't have that kind of time.
Yeah, I don't know if that'll be the case in someone that is in a franchise that's willing to invest into the players to get the players around the player that is the playmaker. Not only is he a great distributor, but because he can see things, he knows immediately who to throw to, how to check, check to a run play, have a run pass option, or have a 3 or 4 tiered option off of one play that that they can run.
But hang on right there. But the problem is those other people don't know that because he doesn't communicate that with them. He doesn't put the work in so that they understand his thought process of when I see this, okay, here's what I'm going to do. This is my progression, if you will, of how I'm going to do it. My understanding is he doesn't put the time in so that those guys understand his thinking. They don't want him to change his thinking, but they don't understand what to expect from him. Do you not see that in high school? When you bring in a new quarterback?
Yeah.
Okay, you bring in a new quarterback, he doesn't have the chemistry with your receivers because they have no idea what he's thinking. And it takes time.
It takes a lot of time.
And that's what I'm saying about Aaron Rodgers. He's not willing to put in that time. Tom Brady is in a high school field when he goes to Tampa in the summertime with his receivers so that they know what he's thinking, so we can all get on the same page. Aaron Rodgers isn't doing that.
Yeah, so
and it's not about what he needs. It's about you investing in the people around you to make sure they get what they need.
Yeah, I guess there's several different ways to look at things. That's a very good, valid point, and I'm sure it's very true. I think Rodgers is more of a guy that relies on individual responsibility from others and doing their job and being professionals, and he has been beating his head against the wall for so long in Green Bay that.
But doesn't Aaron Rodgers? How do I put this? Yeah. Doesn't Aaron Rodgers need to set the expectations for those players so that they know what his expectations are?
I think once he gets there, then that'll be the case.
But
like
it takes time.
It takes a lot of time,
yeah.
and
and so that 2 months of season work in season, put that 2 months in before the season starts so that you're ready.
Yeah, and I think that they, when he gets to where he's going, that'll happen. And two, even though defensive coordinators have 20 years of film on him, it's going to be very different to be able to, especially moving from NFC to AFC, right? Mm-hmm. Going into that league, let's say he does go to the Jets, okay? And that's what we're, saying. He's in that league now with the Patriots. He's in there with
the Dolphins and the Bills.
Dolphins and Bills. Well, they have film on him, but, he has the advantage because they don't know what he's thinking with what he's got. Mm-hmm. And so there's going to be a lot of big things that are done in New York very quickly, but then there'll also be a cooling off period when people start adapting and adjusting and saying, okay, he likes going to this receiver on this, in this scenario. So it's going to be a chess match, like I think you say Colin Cowherd had brought that up in his. So I believe there's a lot of truth to that. I think they will win several games, but the year after will be the telltale.
Over and under is 9.5. That's the line right now for the Jets.
For number of games.
And the Packers, without Aaron Rodgers, is 7.5.
Yeah, so they'll win 3 because there's total dysfunction there. Rodgers is the only thing that kept them above board and above water. Mm-hmm. And I say the only thing, I don't mean that as a disrespect to the other players there. I'm talking about his experience and ability to control a game, make plays. People may or may not like the individual, but I've had conversations even on children about this. It's not really about the individual that is so important because that is a stylistic form of looking at things. My question not to you, but in general, third person, my question is, would you rather have a surgeon that has terrible bedside manner, that, is just gruff, doesn't engage, but yet he's the best he or she are the best surgeon in the world for what they do if you're having that procedure done? Or would you want someone
But let me take it one step further. I'm on board with you. That's the guy I want. I want the guy that's the straight shooter. Don't dress it up. I want you to tell me if you're the best guy, tell me. But the other side of it is I need for you to share your expectations with me. I don't want to go in blind. That's where.
That's a good point.
That's where.
Yes,
that's where I'm at. Yeah. I made this statement before. One of the best, only because I've had experience with 2 family members of my own self, my mom and dad, and with Jack. One of the best, in my opinion, is Dr. Orlowski in the area of cancer.
Yes.
But you know what? I'll never forget when we went up with my dad. My mom said, "I don't like him. He don't smile. He don't." And I'm like, hey, I'm not looking for bedside manner. I'm looking for a guy to give me a fair evaluation, an accurate evaluation, and be honest with me and not paint a pretty picture when there's no picture there to paint.
No.
So my point that I'm making is all of these athletes that do not want to come in off season and don't want to do this, okay, they don't understand that they're not doing it for them. Right. They're doing it for their teammates and for the betterment of the team.
And it's their job.
And you've got so many athletes that are so self-centered now that they can't see that and not willing to do that because they look at it, that's not my job.
But the league has allowed this to happen.
I agree.
We used to play a Pro Bowl when a punter faked the punt and is trying to get a first down, and a defensive back came up and almost killed him.
Yeah.
Okay? Now we play flag football.
But here's the thing, and I'll go back to this.
That's where we are.
I'll go back to this just like baseball. The things that baseball had to implement this year because they had let it get out of hand and drag around and not making players responsible, get in the box, pitch, let's play ball. You shouldn't have to go – you shouldn't have to set rules to make people want to do better when that should be internally motivated.
Exactly. And let me give you a great example of that at a young age. All right, this is where the scraps start, okay? Here's your green beans. Here's the chocolate chip cookie, okay? You're my kid. I want the chocolate chip cookie. Son, I appreciate you sharing what you want with me, but right now that's irrelevant. Okay, because before you have that, I'm just saying green beans. Let's say it's quinoa, all right, or something nutritious. All right, you're going to eat this first before you get. But I don't want that. Okay, let me help you clarify something here. Okay, I'm most concerned with you making healthy choices. All right, and understanding that nutrition, is best, and then you can have that afterwards. But I want your body to be nourished with this good food first. Okay? But I don't want that. Okay, fine. Boy, this cookie sure is good. It's really good. I ate my green beans. Okay, I'll eat my green beans. Did I say, well, just go on and eat the cookie and stop bothering me with this, and then I take the green beans back? That is so simple, but it is so true. And what happens is when we're caught up in how somebody feels and what they say to us, all right, then looking long term at how it's going to affect all, just them in general. But then when you put it into perspective with an organization, how or a the NFL, whatever, how it's going to affect the league long term. What is going on is modern day. All right, things change. That's fine, whatever. But how it got there is on the hands of those that were in charge.
Absolutely.
It's just like people that fuss about politics and where we are in the country and all this. Who's been voting for 60 years?
Yeah. No.
I mean, who's been voting for 20 years?
Nope.
Okay. It's on the people that vote and allow these things to happen if you're frustrated.
Yeah.
There are people that are more worried about how somebody says something. Colin Cowherd, everybody has a right to their opinion. He talked about he's talked about several things on the show, but the one was, he talked, and I can't remember when this was. It was many, many years ago, but he talked about he wanted his president to be presidential.
Yes, and his quarterback to be. Yeah. Yes. Right.
And that's what he was referring to.
Yes.
The point is, regardless of what you want, do you want the best person that can do the job, or how the best person makes the appearance of how they do the job and are not doing it? Right? Do we want a quarterback? Do we want a quarterback that comes in and says all the right things, like a Drew Luck? All right, Andrew Luck, that was put on a pedestal and was a great player, all this stuff, but really always said the right things, did the right things, then just retires, and he really never accomplished. I mean, people could say that's
he
not
didn't
true.
accomplish what
I'm
what
not
expectations
a hater
were.
of him. I like him. I think he's a good.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, he said all the right things. Yeah, I'm trying to get healthy. It's every year. Yeah, I'm rehabbing this, trying to get better, my shoulder, leg, all this stuff. Whatever. But yet you had people in the league, other quarterbacks, that were leading their teams very quietly. All right, that weren't supposed to be any good, or weren't supposed to achieve certain, status, with their play, and they were making playoffs and doing things. I don't, certainly you want someone that can carry themselves well and get the job done. But in today's world, squash the stuff out because of social media, and focus on getting the job done, and then try to improve the other side.
I agree. I agree with Cowherd to a point, but he is making he's drawing a conclusion that one thing is related to the other from a superficial standpoint.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Now, I want the quarterback that still is professional. I don't really care that much about the look and stuff. I want to see how you treat your people, how you perform, and are you responsible for what your actions are? That's what I'm looking for.
Make it. Yeah, right.
I mean, he's bothered because the quarterback comes in with the hat on backwards. Well, I don't care about that as long as you're not being disrespectful to the reporters.
So where does Aaron Rodgers fall into
Don't
that?
associate. Well,
Where does he fall in?
yeah.
He comes in and does his job. He's the best player in the NFL. I mean, there's several really good. I'm just giving an example. 2 years ago, he's the NFL MVP.
Right.
Brady should have won it or could have won it.
Yep.
Sorry. But you see where I'm going with this, right? Okay, so if you're the Jets, do you really care that he does the discount double check or he's over here doing Zen and all these?
No, I don't care about any of that.
I want the guy in the building. I want him rallying the troops. I want him to set an expectation, say, look, This is what I need you to do because I am the ultimate professional.
That's what Brady's always done.
Exactly. They just do it different
Yeah.
ways. Aaron Rodgers is a level of accountability where he tells you and puts it on you. Brady tells you and he holds you to it.
That's correct.
That doesn't make it.
Doesn't make it right or wrong.
Right. It is what it is. You got to know what you're dealing with, like you said, with the people you were hiring to try to mold. That's what you do. And I really think if Frank Reich, got somebody like a Matt Corral, PJ. I know he's gone, but I'm just examples. And he sets expectation and says, "This is what I want you to do." Then they will build from that. I think that's the whole point. It's not how it makes everybody feel, because in the end, feelings come and go like the wind, because it's an emotion. The things that are sustainable are the things that are long lasting.
Ronnie said they want him to be a coach on the field.
Yeah,
don't you want your quarterback to be a coach on the
Ronnie's
field?
right.
Yeah.
And to Ronnie's point, that is and Ronnie's been around football, say 100 years. Really long time. And he's seen not only as a player, but as somebody that's been on the sidelines, how important it is, whether it's an offensive or defensive player, to have that guy on the field in football that will, take control and be that coach. That's
one of the references that Coach Moore made about Matt Eisenhower.
Okay.
And the other guys that were on there, you coached one of them.
Oh, yeah. John Holt, yeah.
Those were guys that
they coached on the field.
Yeah.
They turned around and told to run him. I'm going to tell you something. They turned and looked at those running backs, and they said,
I know.
John Holt was great. I'm moving this guy out of here. You better get your, through here because it's coming quick.
No, I agree.
And it wasn't a threat. It was like, hey, man, we're doing
accountability.
This. Let's go. Let's hit him in the mouth. Let's go.
It was accountability.
Yeah, man. It makes the fulfillment. It makes everything worthwhile because the fulfillment of achievement and accomplishment is there.
I'm going to set you off with one thing before we leave. You ever see the movie The Replacements?
Yeah.
The quarterback that came back? That's Aaron Rodgers. I don't care what you call. Well, I'm on the field.
No,
I do what I want to do.
No, it's
that's
not.
One of them. Yeah,
he just don't want a 12-year-old taking the head coaching job and then trying to tell him that you need to do this.
What if the 12-year-old was the best coach for the job?
Oh my God!
Have a great day. See you later.